Hi all, this is Falcon Paradox, and I'm replying to ShukuenShinobi's review of figma Kamen Rider Wing Knight. I want to thank him for his great review of Kamen Rider Wing Knight. I'm a huge Kamen Rider Ryuki fan, and I'm just offering a second opinion on this figure to find out if this figure is right for you. Pretty crucial about my reviews, so I'm going to grade him a little tough. Really, I just want to find out if this figure is right for you, since there are 13 riders to collect, and we're only on number 2 here. Let's start off with the helmet here. Sculpting here is mediocre at best. Every figure I've seen has the same problem, and that's mostly with the paint here. Either the black lines are too thick or too thin, or the silver lines are not enough paint or splashing into the black. I don't know why Max Factory keeps dropping the ball on this. How hard is it really to paint solid lines? I don't know why they're having these problems. So, as usual, I suggest getting a Gundam marker and trying to touch it up yourself with the black. The silver would be kind of difficult to do. But, hey, if you want to just take it as it is, you can do that as well. Right here in the center, there's a blue jewel. I know with my crappy camera you can't really see it. I'll take a picture of it and see it a lot better. But it's off-centered. It's really noticeable when you get up close, but not so much from a distance of a few inches or so. It really bothers me, just because it's just, I figured this whole grill part that goes over the face like that, I figured that would be like a separate piece, but no, it's all one whole piece, the helmet. So I don't know why they had problems just not centering it. I figured, how hard is it to center a jewel? I don't know why they're having these problems. But yeah, that bothered me. When you get right down to the rest of the figure, though, the rest of the figure is pretty good. The body is really fun to pose, more so than Ryuki's. Very dynamic, proportionally accurate. I copy ShukuenShinobi's review of this perfectly. Get him in that final scene where he's reaching out. There we go. I'm also a really big fan of the choice of blue color that they have here. I really like it. It's, well, I'll do something else in a little bit. You'll find out. The Wing Lancer is a great accessory. I just really love just the size of it and everything. I think this is really accurate. I'm not going to dock points for this, but right here, and you can't really see it, but there's a little bit of, I think it's glue that must have come off from when they were assembling this, so it's spread onto the silver paint and makes it look kind of like a scab or something like that. Like I said, I'm not deducting points for that, but that was kind of disappointing. Guard vent, great accessory. Just, man, who else would have made it pleather? This is perfect. I love the attention to detail in the sculpting. I like how they use this blue paint right there in the center jewel. Head doesn't move, but that's okay. In fact, this whole front piece kind of comes off kind of easily. I'm not going to do it here, but it can pop right off, and the pleather part will come right off. So it's 3 pieces. Love the wire on the bottom. Kind of wish they did the wire all the way around, or a separate piece that would have him be able to throw his cape up. But hey, not deducting points for that. I think it's great just as it is. Hands are all pretty standard. Same thing you get with Ryuki, and probably the same hands we'll get from almost all the other figures. The black visor, or dark visor, depending of your country of choice, is excellent. Doesn't open, but that's okay. Really like it. It's made of a hard plastic. When I first got it, I was like, man, this thing is actually pretty long, because compared to the other Bandai ones, the blade was shorter and thicker, and yeah, it just didn't have this feel to it. But overall, the paint job on this is fantastic. I'm surprised they did so well with the silver lines and everything, and yet somehow messed up the helmet. Small complaint would be that if you were to put it here in the on the side, it would kind of poke, and maybe the silver paint would start to scratch off, or maybe even kind of dull the point on the end. This thing does turn, so you can kind of have it like that. But what I really would have preferred would be another sword that was a little shorter and made of a flexible plastic. That way, when it's in there, he can like get in a pose, and it would not hinder, either his movement or damage the sword. But that was just a separate accessory that I wish he came with. Something else that I wish he also came with is, I got these parts right here. This is not from a figma. This is actually from a Microman Batman. 2 different hands. These are both the right hand. I mean, the right hand, I guess. This hand here will tilt left and right, just like the Figmas. It goes left and right across what I guess you would call the equator. And this is a grasping hand, left and right. And then there's one here that would go up and down against what I guess you would call a meridian. Now, Bandai's figures don't have this problem because their hands snap on through a ball joint, so you can pretty much do whatever you want. But the one thing that Knight usually gets his pose in is where he holds, like, close to his chest, and he'll hold the sword out like this in a defensive pose. He's done this quite a bit, especially during one certain scene. Okay, yeah, and there's a few other scenes where he does it, but I was kind of disappointed that you can't really copy that pose. I mean, the best you can do is kind of have it out like that, and I don't know, that was an accessory that I would really have wished that would have came with this as well, but since that's just wishful thinking, I'm not even going to go on further about that. I'm going to do something a little differently with this review now. I'm going to do a comparison. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, there we have it. This figure right here is going to be the original Rider and Monster, or R&M series of Kamen Rider Knight, and this right here would be the Sochoku Henshin version released in 2006, I think. Both of them are from Bandai. This guy was released in 2002. This was, of course, the first release, which actually was really poseable and a really good figure for its time. A lot of changes were made for the new Sochoku Henshin version, of course. The armor comes off and all that stuff, but I'm really just here to compare it to the Figma ones. First of all, the dark visor. This was made of a plastic that could bend slightly, so it wasn't like, you know, didn't really do anything too bad. This one, of course, was almost made of rubber, and it really sucked, because if you were to hold his sword out for a short period of time, it would droop and look like this eventually. It really sucked. The major difference would be in the Wing Lancer, however. This is the original R&M series Wing Lancer, and you'll notice that the handle is super short. And then, of course, here is the Sochoku Henshin version. The handle gets significantly longer, but, of course, it's made from the really soft plastic, so it does this. That sucked. And then we have the Figma one, which is the awesome one. So, clearly, paint alone, Figma wins hand down. For its time, the Sochoku Henshin version was also pretty good. One thing I did notice is that the detailing in the helmet is much better with the Bandai version than it is for the Figma version. The Figma version tends to be a little smoother, I guess you could say. It's not as sharply defined and everything like that, but the Figma is much more proportionally accurate, so Figma wins in that category. You'll also notice the color difference. When Bandai first started, it was this kind of dark, kind of a matte blue, and then for some reason they went to this kind of bright dark blue, and then when Figma came out, they had this one. Accurately speaking, the R&M Series 1 should win, because it's the most accurate when you look at the show footage and everything like that. This one is not bad, but it's too bright, and the paint job is better, but still yet, I really do like the blue used for Knight in this series. Now, I don't have the guard vent for the R&M series. It was a horrible, horrible cape. When you came onto the, excuse me, when you came onto the Sochoku Henshin version, the cape improves, but it is still just one piece. So I remember when I was playing the PlayStation version of it, when he would bend over, the cape would kind of bend over like this as well, and it would kind of stick out oddly. But yeah, this thing is really just one big piece. Of course, you see the major improvement differences just in the bat alone. At least the head was on a ball joint, but even that wasn't enough to save it from looking silly. So clearly Figma wins that one hand down as well. Let's get these guys out of here. There's one more thing about this Figma that's different from Ryuki other than being a different character, and that would be this. there is a ball joint on the bottom of the neck there. The Ryuki figure did not have a ball joint there. His neck was permanently attached to his torso. I couldn't help notice that this head doesn't really move that well on the upper neck joint. So I think, as far as posability goes, they might be on a level playing field. But it's just really nice to see this in other future figmas as well, to have the neck on a ball joint, a separate ball joint, to really increase the range of posability. So I think that pretty much covers everything in this. Let's give this one a score. The paint will get a 3.5 out of 5. Max Factory just needs some quality control. That's pretty much it. They need to learn how to draw some straight lines and just make their figures look like they do in their promo pictures. You know, I don't think it's that hard to fix the issues that it has. Sculpt will get a 4.5 out of 5. The issue with the jewel on the forehead for me was the thing that probably hurt him the most. Everything else is pretty proportionally accurate and everything. I'm real happy about it. Love the sculpt on the guard vent and on the sword. Excellent. Accessories will get a 4.5 out of 5. If I can find what I did with the guard vent. Here we are. Excellent amount of accessories, I think. The only thing that would have really maxed him out on this one would be, of course, another dark visor to fit here with a bendy sword for it doesn't hinder articulation or when he's crouching, or even just to not have the inconvenience of always taking it out. And of course the hand that would allow him to bend or have the sword even just like facing outward, like you're going to thrust or something like that. You know, that would have been great. But other than that, I'm not going to say much more about that one. Articulation is going to get a 4.5. I think this is probably the standard for Kamen Rider bodies that we're going to have right now. Knight has few issues. I think we're all going to have problems with the crotch here and little shoulder pad issues and stuff. But other than that, near perfect. Fun factor will get a 4.5 out of 5. Knight with his BFS. Just an awesome addition. Just great to get him in all kinds of defensive poses and stuff. And here's this issue I was talking about earlier where this whole thing will come straight off along with the cape. And now we're just left with this. So, now you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, grand total, I'm going to give him 4.5 stars. It's not without its issues, clearly. But this is probably the best Wing Knight figure that we're going to get until Bandai announces them releasing a figure arts version. But this is still a great figure. Paint is great, except for the helmet. And just love the amount of detail that they put into the guy. Seriously, highly recommend getting this figure. Putting him up against any other Kamen Rider is great. He lasted to the end of the series. One of the main characters, if not the main character, despite not having the name Kamen Rider Wing Knight being the main series. But anyway, excellent addition. Highly recommend it. Pre-order it, order it, get it. If you are a fan of Ryuki, you will not regret it. Just want to thank you guys for watching my second opinion review. And again, I'd like to thank ShukuenShinobi for his review, and hope you guys learned something here. Have a good one.